This is Professional Launch with Ricot Aladin, positively connecting the less connected, bridging gaps, and building futures in the community. Professional Launch with Ricot Aladin.
Hello, professionals. My name is Ricot Aladin. I am the founder of Professional Launch and the host of the Professional Launch Show here on WDOY Radio. Today, my guest is Mayor Bochenski, Brendan Bochenski, and I am so honored to be joined by the mayor here. Mayor Bochenski, you've had a fascinating career path from professional hockey to entrepreneurship to now leading the city. So what experiences come from your early career most shape your leadership style today?
Well, that's a great question. First of all, thanks for having me today. Always happy to come down here and visit in Fargo. I had kind of an interesting childhood. There was actually 7 kids in my family, so you had probably some leadership at a young age. I was the second oldest. When I was about 11 years old, we grew up in the Minneapolis area. My dad actually had left the family, so we had 4 kids at the time. So I kind of got thrust into a little bit of the role as an 11, 12-year-old to try to lead the family and protect, take care of my mother. Kind of had some hard times. Had to move in with my grandparents. went through some challenges early on, but built up a good network around me through friends, coaches, teachers, and when you say it really does take a village to raise a kid, that was certainly the example that I had down in the Minneapolis area. So from a young age, those kind of some of those challenges, but the paths forward certainly thrust me into more of a leadership role that I was able to carry on through my later years.
Wonderful, wonderful. So this program, this platform, this organization is about helping young professionals launch their careers. And sometimes it is, most of the times for many, it is very hard, right? And so many young professionals struggle with career pivots. What advice would you give someone considering a major change like the one you made moving from sport to city leadership?
Well, when you have an opportunity to have a positive impact on the people around you, it's going to make you scared. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be afraid. Change is very hard. You're going to step outside. You have to step outside your comfort zone. But life is short. You've got a small window that you can really make an impact on those around you. So I would say be brave. There's a little bit of a sort of fake it till you make it. You don't feel like maybe you belong in those roles, but leaders have to step up. I mean, I always believe leadership is very situational. So when you have an opportunity, and I, had got done playing hockey, really was treated so well by the Grand Forks community that I wanted to find a way to give back. And I saw a community that could use a new voice, some new energy, and I felt that I could bring that. But of course, with that, you start in your head to wonder, well, it's just me. Do I deserve, should I be the one to lead, an entire city to go through all this? Do I have the qualifications? I mean, even knowing the experience I had, playing hockey all over the world, being a captain, a leader, running a successful business, having an economics degree. I mean, I had all the pieces, but, you still question yourself at times. So you have to learn to just be comfortable being uncomfortable. So it's kind of a wordsmith, a play on words there. But the more that you get comfortable outside your comfort zone, the easier it is to continue to grow professionally.
Wonderful. So, you play sports throughout your life. What are some of the skills that are generally transferable from sports to either the business world or even to the city?
Well, there's a few, clearly.
Okay.
I think discipline as an athlete, you have to be very disciplined. You're, year round, you don't really have a day off. Even if you're a hockey player, even in the summer, you're training, you're preparing for the next season. So you learn that constant grind and that constant discipline where just, every day making yourself a little bit better. After a year or 5 years, you can transform yourself into a whole nother person and a better version of yourself. Teamwork, certainly, learning how to work with a team, that's crucial. You're going to have bad moments. You're going to have things that don't go well. In my sport, on the ice, things can happen. There may be, instances where you have to stand up or take care of your teammates. So you learn to protect each other and care for each other. And then also, I would say the biggest piece is to learn how to handle a bad day. You're going to have a lot of adversity. There's going to be moments where your own fans might not always like what you're doing. Let alone, I always tell the story. People say, "Well, how do you handle criticism so well?" And I said, "Well, half the games everybody loved you because you played at home. The other half everybody hated you because you were on the road. So you're used to people, sending comments and trying to tear you down. So I think sports has a lot of transfer into not just the business world, but definitely in politics as well. It's just a matter of taking what you've learned there and being able to apply it across the board.
Wonderful, wonderful. So when you first became mayor, what was your vision for Grand Forks, and how has that evolved over time?
Yeah, I came in with a very clear vision. We had the previous mayor had been there for 20 years, so things had become stagnant. The city really wasn't on the move. There wasn't as much opportunity. It wasn't job growth. So I came in and wanted to see the quality of life improve for the community, so more people could stay, so we could create more workforce. But I really wanted to bring business into town and big business so that wages could grow. I always, on the campaign trail and until today, I continue to pound the table that if we don't have businesses growing, wages can't grow and opportunity can't grow. So we try to do everything we can to promote business, and we've been successful, seeing some very large manufacturers in the value-added ag, in high tech, and UAS, in the defense sector. So Grand Forks is booming, and they're higher paying jobs. So despite the large increases in inflation and healthcare costs, food costs all going up, our wages have been able to keep pace and at some extent exceed that. So people have a little bit more disposable income. They can enjoy quality of life. And that was really the last piece, as we've seen all this job growth, having different features like a children's museum, a sports complex, outdoor spaces to gather, a clean city, a safe city. Those are things that to me were important to a family. And if you want to have a vibrant community, you gotta have families coming there and staying there. So that's really everything I've done the last going to the 6th year now has been around those values. And I think we've been pretty successful, but it takes a long time to get things done in the world, let alone in the political world.
Yeah. So how do you balance innovation and economic growth while maintaining the community's core values and identity?
Well, largely you try to align them as best you can. I think, there's, I'm a very strong advocate of free markets, and, so the city really has to stay out as much as we can, but let's promote business to come there. Let's try to do it at a way that's not cost intrusive on the people that are already there, because you want to have a low cost community too. So we've been very thoughtful and mindful on infrastructure, not growing too fast, so that we, build out these priorities. But then, those are the big pictures things. You still, as the mayor and as a leader of the city, you need to get engaged with, all the local nonprofits. You have to have sort of the pulse of the community. And so I work really hard. It's supposed to be a part-time job, but I'm, at least 50 or 60 hours a week, out there in the community, visiting, talking to people, finding out what their needs are at the ground level. And, my solutions, I want to be able to create an environment where people can step up and can do things themselves and can create a good life. I think that's the American dream. And I want to be able to let people lean into that. And I've never been one, and I don't think most Americans are ones that, that always want a handout. They want to be able to have the opportunity to do it for themselves. And we want to create a platform. We're going to set the table. We want everyone to have a seat at the table, and they've got to decide how hard they're going to work. If they want to eat filet mignon or they want to eat, hamburgers, it's their choice how hard they work. They're going to have a seat at the table, but they've got to decide what they want to eat.
Wonderful. So Grand Forks have been recognized for its growth in tech, aviation, and entrepreneurship. What do you see as the city's next frontier of opportunity?
The defense sector is really going to be a big growth with the university. They've done a really great job setting the table and sort of building a foundation for the UAS sector. So now we have a mission at the Grand Forks Air Force Base that's unmanned drones. It's the RQ-4, the Global Hawk platform. So we're flying, out of Grand Forks, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance missions all over the world at the base. Space Development Agency is coming there, so they have low Earth orbit satellites. So they're able to talk to each other, so you have this sort of layered surveillance. So that's really been the push recently, and that's going to continue to grow now that we've seen counter drone activity in Ukraine and Israel. Grand Forks is really on the front edge of that. So you're going to get all the things that come with that when it comes to hardware, software, edge processing, all the different components that are on drones and unmanned systems. So it's been quite a growth sector. We've seen Grand Sky is probably the biggest piece. That's an unmanned aeronautics park that's attached to the Air Force Base. We've seen growth there. They're probably going to add 1,000 jobs that are paying more than $100,000 a year, which is a great living wage. So that's going to continue to be the opportunity. And, it's really driven by the University of North Dakota. There's set record enrollment this last year at 15,844 students. Wow. That's the most in the state. I know that's tough to say when I'm down here in Fargo, but it's pretty remarkable. And, all the North Dakota institutions have done well, higher learning institutions. We're bucking the national trend. We've got growing enrollments where other places are seeing declining. So that gives us the future workforce. That gives us the research and the talent to grow that UAS and that tech sector to what it is today and beyond.
Wonderful. So what is one local success story that really captures the spirit of progress in your community?
I think the most recent one, and this isn't in the tech sector, but it's in value-added ag. We have a Belgian company that's coming to Grand Forks. It was a long process where they were deciding where to put their site. It's a $500 million potato processing plant, very cutting edge. We went through about a 2-year process with them. Ultimately, they selected Grand Forks, and the reason they kept saying, why Grand Forks? Why do we pick Grand Forks? We like the people, we like the work ethic, we like the safe community. We visited many different communities, and some of them we'd say, oh crap, I've got to go back to this place, but never Grand Forks. Every time they came, they were excited, they wanted to be there, and ultimately we're going to be the home of their first North American plant. So that was a huge win. They've broken ground. They're starting to move forward on that. So from an economic side, but also just a success story on the growth of the community, that was a huge win.
You talk about growth in the community, and obviously I can feel the harmony between you and the community as a whole. What leadership qualities do you believe are essential for building trust between and collaboration in a diverse community?
Well, I think I always say this, the best ability is accessibility and availability. So I always make myself available. There could be someone that disagrees with the policy or something that I've said, and they may reach out in a negative way. And I said, well, let's just meet. Let's talk about this. Let me, understand your ideas. You can understand mine. It doesn't mean that it's going to change, but I want to know what you're thinking and how you got there. And I want you to know how I got to where I'm at. So I'll go out and meet people where they're at in the community. They can come visit me in my office. Sometimes that's intimidating for people. They got to go to City Hall or the mayor's office. So I spend a lot of time, visiting people, directly at coffee shops or with different, associations, nonprofit, different organizations in town. They're going to hear from me, if we disagree or agree, they're going to hear from me and we'll be able to get together. And I think that's always a good place to start. The last thing you want is a leader that's, hidden behind the wall somewhere and you don't have access to them. I've never believed in that. And through business, through sports, just being very transparent and very, very communicative has always been the right path and the best path forward.
Wonderful. Being able to access and availability. I like those two words.
Yeah.
So we're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back. Today, my guest is Grand Forks Mayor Brandon Bochenski, and we're having a conversation about leadership and community growth here. Thank you again for being on the show. As you know, this platform is about mentorship and helping young professionals launch their careers. So mentorship it's a big focus for professional launch. My question is to you, did you have any mentors throughout your professional life, and how have they influenced you, if you did?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I think mentorship is crucial, and I don't think you're ever too old or too young to have mentors. I think even in my role today, I still have mentors. Probably some of the most important mentors to me was in some critical times in my life when I was growing up and going through some hard times. And I can think of a guy by the name of Steve Larson. He was my high school hockey coach. He was a mentor not only in sports, but really in my faith and kind of driving me closer to my faith early on. So that was, someone that I still get to talk to from time to time, but a good mentor. And I think that you need to let your mentors know sometimes that what they really meant to you and how they've shaped your life, because I don't think that they always know that, and that can energize them too. But throughout my life, really, it has been coaches or it's been faith leaders that I've really been able to lean on. And it's could be anything from just a personal relationship thing to something business wise, or just something I'm feeling, or some hole that I'm searching to fill in my life. And it's having a mentor to tell you, well, have you thought about this, or have you prayed about that? It's really changed my life in a lot of different ways. So I wouldn't be here today without some of those mentors that I had in the early days, and I wouldn't. I'd make a lot more mistakes in my career now if I didn't run things by some of my mentors as I'm going through things.
Wonderful, wonderful. I say many times on this show that I am a product of mentors because of how much mentors have contributed to my journey. and I can vouch. I can second what you say about the importance of having a mentor. So what would you tell a young professional in college right now trying to launch their careers about the importance of having a mentor?
And things might have changed now. I think growing up for me, there was always sort of this bravado or this masculine, like, I don't need anybody. I don't need any mentors. I don't need this, that, or the other. Don't be afraid to lean in when someone's there that can help you. Don't think that you can do it all yourself. Let somebody help you along the way, someone that's been there before. So I think it's putting yourself out there. It's getting out of that comfort zone again. And it's particularly hard, I think, for men. We tend to want to have this aura or this idea that we can do everything ourselves. And we can be a lot more effective in what we're trying to do in our daily lives if we're willing to listen and willing to be a little bit more open. So probably my biggest advice would be to someone that was like me when I was younger and just, you were stubborn and you didn't really want to open up as much as you should have. And it took just the right person at just the right time to be able to help you, when there may have been people all along the way that, that want to see you do well and want to see you succeed, and you just hadn't leaned into it. So I just don't be afraid to take advice and to ask for help and to be willing to lean in when the opportunities are there.
Mm. Wonderful. So how would you suggest that they go about making that first step?
Well, probably there's going to be, some career field or some activity that you're interested in. I think that's a great way to start. If you're through your church or through faith, there's going to be people standing by just waiting to help you. I mean, I think that there's no doubt about that. So I would say begin with those areas and seek out, probably people that are either coaches or are leading these types of organizations and programs, and say, hey, I got a question on this. Could you meet up with me? Could we talk about this? And I think there's going to be opportunities where there's mentors that are looking for mentees, but I think happening organically, where there's just people that are going about their lives and trying to help one another, can be probably even more impactful at times, because you didn't plan on I was going to be your mentor, and you were planning on mentoring, and it just turned out that way. And it kind of leaves all of the, leaves everything at the door, right? You're not carrying anything with you, any expectations into that mentorship. You're just trying to, have a human connection, which we need more of that in this world, not less. And our cell phones and everything that's been created with technology just isolates us. I don't think it brings us closer together. So as much sort of human interaction that you can have and actual interaction with nature and being outside is going to be positive in your life. At least that's been the case for me.
Wonderful. Meaningful professional relationships. That's one of the things that we talked about with Professional Lunch. We are facilitating those meaningful professional relationships between people that have a lot of experience and those who are just starting out. Yeah. So that's one of the things that we set out to do. Now, let's switch back to your mayoral journey. What has been the most rewarding and most challenging part of serving as a mayor?
I think the most rewarding thing is that my priorities we're being able to get those done and seeing the fruits of those labors, and growing the city, but also reducing the tax burden. We've got 6 straight years of reducing the mill levy, which I think that was one of the main reasons I got in, to try to reduce property tax, to reduce the burden on the community, and we've been able to do that 6 straight years, which I think is phenomenal. And just, I guess I'll go back to some of the positives. The hard part is really, you deal with a lot of challenges when it comes to sort of neighborly, and this gets back to human interaction. I spend probably, 30-40% of my time dealing with sort of neighbor disputes, something going on between 2 people. They both come to you and say, I can't get this figured out with my neighbor. You need to fix this. And then the other person will come in and they've got the other side of the argument. If people could come together and come up with solutions on their own, I'd have a lot more time to do, a lot of other things. So that's always a challenge. I think getting buy-in, obviously, as the mayor, you don't just get to wave a wand and everything happens. You have to get buy-in from your city council. You have to have at least 4 of the 7 members up there behind any of the initiatives that you bring forward. And we've got a good city council. And probably another thing I'm really proud of is just the city staff up there. We've had very low turnover. We've had really good hardworking. We've got a great team mentality. We just try to do a little bit more within the roles that we're currently in, and you're seeing that in a highly functioning city that's been able to keep costs down, but safe, clean, and growing community. I mean, that's that's America. That's what you should want.
Mm. So, I mean, the other part of that was I was going to ask you about the challenge, because I know when you put a policy, or when you have one of your priorities that people don't agree with, how do you handle those moments when public opinion is divided on some of the major issues?
I early on I struggle with that more because I came in as a mayor probably a little wet behind the ears, thinking that everyone's gonna, I won by a landslide in the election, so everyone's gonna agree with all my policies, right? And then like the first time you did anything, you're like, well, wait a minute, people disagree. You have to realize that, if you can get more than half the community, it's very hard to get people to agree on anything, but if you can get 50, 60, 70% of people to agree on something, there's going to be people that are against it, and you be able to utilize those that are maybe against the policy to make it better. So you may continue on the path that you're on with the policy, but they may have shifted you in a certain way where it doesn't fully appease them, but it actually made the initiative better. So I'm always going to listen to both sides of the argument, but I'm willing to do something that people don't agree with. If you're going to try to make everyone happy, you'll make no one happy, and you'll be paralyzed and you'll do nothing. So welcome criticism. It's a good thing. When I was a hockey player, you never played the perfect game. Even if you had a hat trick, scored the game-winning goal, you still went back and watched tape and said, where could I have been better on this breakout? Where could my positioning have been better? Where could my defensive play have been better? Every game, you're looking at how to make yourself better. So feed off of criticism in a positive way. Don't let it bring you down, and certainly don't take it home. I've tried to do my best to not do that and let it affect my family life. And that's been, it's been hard at times. I'm getting better at that, but expect criticism and try to use it positively to make things better.
How do you define effective leadership in government today as a mayor?
Well, I think the easiest way is that when you come forward with something or bring ideas, you get buy-in. If you're and that you have to believe in what you do to begin with, but as you get your support system to buy in first, and maybe people that were against you at first now are starting to buy in, and then you get the community to buy in to what you're trying to do. And it takes time, but being relentless enough, having enough fortitude to push through with what you believe in, and doing things that you truly believe in. If you're just in there trying to do things that this subsection wanted you to do, or that special interest group wanted you to do, your heart's not going to be behind it, and people will see through that in a heartbeat. So if you're being an effective leader, you're getting people to champion your ideas, to get behind you, and it takes time to get there. But once you're there, you create this powerful force that's kind of unstoppable. It's like a wave, and it doesn't have to be you selling the argument all the time. You've got your this whole force behind you that's helping drive things forward, and you become a lot more effective. So. It took a little bit of time, but I think we're getting that type of momentum now in Grand Forks.
Wonderful, wonderful. Before we go to our next break here, I want to remind everybody that Professional Launch is a nonprofit organization, and therefore we heavily rely on friends, guests, partners to keep our operation going. So go to professionallaunch.org and see all the way you can support our organization, support our operation. We appreciate your support so much. And if you can't support us in any way, other way, but at the very least, you can follow us on social media, and usually that goes a long way. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, on YouTube, to give our channel a boost. That goes a long way. So we thank you so much for your support. We'll be right back. We are back today. We have in the studio Mayor Bochenski from Grand Forks, and we are so excited to have you here talking about leadership. Mayor Bochenski, how can local leaders make sure that growth benefits every part of the community, not just certain groups and neighborhoods? That's something that has to do a little bit with diversity.
Yeah, I think the best part to do that as you grow and you're growing amenities in your community, as the community grows. You have the funding available then, right? You have growth in sales tax, growth in property tax. What we've been able to do with some of that growth is create things like the Ultra Sports Complex, which is being constructed right now. Indoor turf and aquatic facility with pickleball, basketball courts, sports training. This is things that are available to the entire community. So I think, a children's museum. So things like that are larger amenities, but I think from a macro perspective, as you have growth, you're going to see wage growth. So as you see growth coming, whether it's in the form of new business or expanding current businesses, that really is going to benefit everyone. And I think it starts with the primary sector. So if you have products that are built or manufactured in your community and sold somewhere else, if you have growth in that sector, it's different than growth in like a service industry. Because if you have to charge more for a service, that doesn't make your community wealthier, right? So people have to pay within your community for those things. So you can't really grow the economic pie unless you're bringing primary sector business in. So I've always looked at it from the sort of the higher level. If you can stimulate growth in your community, you're going to have a more amenity-rich community, which is accessible to everybody. But furthermore, you're going to have wage growth, and that means more disposable income for people to be able to spend on housing, food, hospital bills, vacations. Hopefully, people shouldn't need to have second, third jobs to be able to get by. And that's, unfortunately, if you have a community that's shrinking or consolidating, you're going to see wages consolidating and shrinking, and everything. Inflation's not stopping, so people are going to be sort of squeezed at both ends. So that's always been my philosophy, and at least today it seems to be working. I don't know that it's a perfect philosophy, but it's the best one I can think of.
Wonderful. So is based on your interaction with the community, is Grand Forks becoming more diverse in a way, or?
Well, I always think Grand Forks is, I like to say we're probably one of the more diverse, at least in the past we have, and I think we continue to be because the University of North Dakota has been there. So we've had, professors, students, lecturers, researchers coming through Grand Forks. So we've kind of had that inherent natural sort of diversity, but it continues to grow. And I think there's opportunities as you have larger groups, you can have more, let's say if our Nepalese, population is growing, there's a Nepalese restaurant in Grand Forks now. So suddenly it makes it easier for more people to be able to come, or to want to come, because now they got a taste of maybe if they're immigrants where they came from in the community. So I think we've managed it fairly well in Grand Forks. You want to create an environment where people, can stand on their own 2 feet. That's what everybody wants. So again, it gets back to that job growth, because people that come, and if you're growing your diversity, they need to have jobs, they need to have places to live, and to be a part of the community, the culture, and help grow the economy.
So we get to the part where the conversation where we really focus on advice for young professionals. What is one piece of advice? If you could give one message to young professionals listening today about leadership, resilience, or community, what would it be?
The advice I always like to give is do the best you can to manage your own affairs. Get your own house in order as quickly as you can and as best you can. And that's going to be a growth process, but take care. It starts with your body. What's something you can manage today? You can be active. That doesn't mean you have to go to the gym every day, but go for a walk, be active. You can connect with your loved ones, get out in the community, have deep, meaningful conversations with your spouse. Get enough rest at night. Sleep, try to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night if you can. You're going to be more effective the next day. So maybe, instead of having 4 glasses of wine or 6-pack of beer, maybe have 1 or 2. Just, be a little bit more thoughtful in day-to-day what you're putting into your body, what you're reading, what you're thinking about, and you're going to be a more effective person. And just a little bit of a change every day is going to make you better. So, work to get your own house in order before you start trying to take over the world and tell everybody else what to do. It's kind of a Jordan Peterson-esque view of things, but there's value in that because we want things now, we want things fast. But what's something we can do today? We can control ourselves and what we do each day to make ourselves better. And I think if you start focusing on that, pieces outside of your home will fall together and you'll be more effective. So
wonderful.
That's a piece of advice I always like to give. I don't know if everybody follows it.
Together first. Yeah. So what legacy would you like to leave as mayor, both for the city and for future leaders?
I'm not huge on the legacy. I really view like my job is to make things better for the next person that fills my shoes. So I don't own that seat. That's a rented seat. It's a seat I'm sitting in, and I'm trying to make it better for the next person. So if I can leave a legacy where people said, Brandon showed up for work. He worked hard every day. He tried. I think I'd be happy with that legacy. It's not about buildings or businesses for me. It's probably more about that human connection, that human interaction, and knowing that someone looks back and said that was a job well done. And you can point to one thing or the other. That doesn't matter as much as just saying he showed up, had his work pail, his work boots on, his lunch pail, and he was ready to go until the job got done.
Wonderful. Um, what is a major challenges you're facing as a mayor right now?
Right now, well, one of the pieces we got, I think housing is going to be a challenge, and with that, you can go from all levels of housing, but um, finding, and I I don't like to use the word affordable housing because affordable housing generally is such a obscure term. It usually, how you define it is people just want to pay less for what they want. So I've heard people that, well, I can't find anything affordable at $700,000 or, and I'm like, well, that's 700 grand. I'm sure you can find something. And then, there's people that want something that they don't think is affordable at 100,000. So I do think we need more housing at all those different levels. That's going to help. We've had to deal with some homelessness, and that's always a challenge too. You try to manage things in the proper way. You try to get people the services that they need to get out of that cycle, and knowing that there's some people that unfortunately choose that lifestyle, and you can't create a funnel that brings more people to the community to drain your resources. So that's been a challenge. It's a challenge all across the country, but I think we've got a good plan, and going forward, trying to reduce costs, trying to incentivize larger scale housing projects, housing developments that are at all levels. So, anywhere from condos and twin homes that are in the high 200s, up to $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 houses. If you can have growth in inventory there, I think that's going to ease the burden.
Wonderful. So I asked for one major challenge. What's one good thing that's going for the city right now?
A good thing, we've got a tremendous amount of momentum. So we're seeing, I'd say the university is doing great. The Air Base is doing great. The Alaris Center, we're getting amazing concerts up there. So you asked for one, I'm going to give a whole bunch.
Okay.
But I think we're really hitting on all the cylinders right now. Brand new hospital up in Grand Forks. So if you want to talk about a safe community with good health care, and the schools are figuring it out, that's always a challenge too. But I think we got a lot of positives, and there's a good value proposition. If someone wants to live in a safe community with good wages and lots of opportunity, you got to come check out Grand Forks.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to take another break here. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation. We'll be right back. We are back. Today we have in the studio Mayor Brendan Bochenski, and we also wanted to have you here, sir, to have a conversation about leadership. Now, talking about leadership, many young people feel somewhat disconnected from local government. What are some of the ways you think that cities can better engage youth in civic life and even decision making?
Well, I'll start with one thing that I do. We have a youth commission, so anybody that's in one of the high schools in Grand Forks, they get to visit with me once a month. We have lunch. That kind of gets them like a peek under the hood, so to speak. They're at City Hall. They get to hang around. They get to, if there's topics that are going on in the community, we'll kind of debate those, and they can give us their ideas of what from their perspective is the right path forward. But largely, what I'm hoping is that more people get engaged and will run for office. We've got several ward seats in Grand Forks that ran unopposed, so you have the same people that are in, and not that they're bad. They're good people, but I guess I still consider myself a little bit younger. I'm 43. I was elected mayor at 38. When I go, if I'm out somewhere visiting a business or trying to promote Grand Forks, they're always surprised. They expect like an older kind of curmudgeon-y mayor, and I'm like, no, there's some young ones like me too. So I do think that helps to bridge the gap a little bit. It's tough with the university. We have so many that kind of students that come and go, so they're maybe not, they're trying to find connections to the area, but they might not be there after they graduate. So I think it's promoting that you can run for these offices. You can sign up to be on different boards and have your voice heard and be able to promote your ideas on different committees. So it's a challenge to get people engaged, but the more you're out there and recommending people do it. So if somebody calls and says, hey, I don't like this planning and zoning item and the way it's going, I said, well, here, I've got an opening on the planning and zoning committee. Why don't you join that? Then you can have a seat at the table and you'll have one of the votes. So doing things like that has helped, and we've seen, on our park boards, our school boards, and some of our other committees, we're kind of getting that next generation in, and they're the ones that have families. That's who I want making decisions is, people who have families who are going to be impacted for the next several generations. If it's someone that's had kids and grandkids and everyone's moved away and you're kind of there, you're not going to have the same perspective on community growth that someone that's got kids in the school system and out in the community, and you're out in the community. You just have a different perspective. So.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So when your time as mayor is eventually over, how do you hope people will say about the kind of leader you were and the impact you made on the community?
I think the two things that come to mind, I hope that they say that, he was a strong leader and he was consistent. So that's been my important part of my life, really, is that you're going to be consistent. If there's a bad day or there's a good day, you're still driving forward, you're still doing the work. So, I hope that my peers, the people that I work with, had say that was a real period of, strong leadership, very, very consistent leadership. I'm using those two words again. I'd love to people to look back and say, he had compassion. He was definitely engaging. I mean, all those things I really hope come through and shine through, through strength and through, the other things that I'm doing. But really those two things are important to me. And I hope that's that flows through in the things that I do and the people that I'm speaking to.
Wonderful, wonderful. So what is one thing that people who work with you may not know about you that you are able to share with the audience today?
Oh, that they don't know about me. Geez, I got a lot of issues, a lot of problems. But no, what's one thing? So I'll give you something kind of fun.
Okay.
I was big into, obviously played hockey, so I was big into sports, and I still wanted to get that sort of rush. So what I do now is I play tennis. So I started playing tennis at 41 years old. So I wasn't very good at it first, but I've got the hand-eye coordination. So Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays at noon, I'll play tennis for an hour with a group. So you can't schedule anything for me normally at that time. Guess what, though? I'm here today, so I'm missing tennis today. But
well, it's
important to have those outlets. That's important. You can't only be doing one thing. I like to fish. I don't play a lot of golf. I played golf when I was a kid. I like to fish. I like to hike. I like to hunt, and Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, I like to play tennis.
Wonderful. Mayor Bochenski, is there anything that you were hoping that I would ask about and I didn't, that you want to share with the professional lunch audience?
I think you covered it pretty well. I think if anyone's listening to the show, when I go to speak, I always hope if I can inspire one person. If there's a crowd of 1,000, you can inspire one person, then it was worth doing. So hopefully there's someone out there in radio, TV land, podcast land, that's able to hear this and change their thinking just a little bit. So thanks for the opportunity, and nice to get to meet you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Mayor Bochenski, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's such a pleasure to have you. Like I mentioned, the hour goes really fast. I want to remind everybody that Professional Launch is a nonprofit organization, and therefore we heavily rely on friends, on partners, on guests to keep our operation going. So find us on professionallaunch.org and see all the way you can support us. We appreciate that very much. Your support truly means the world to us. Now, this is the part that I tell you, it's up to you to make today a great day. Have a great day.